Yeah. So welcome.
Good evening, Manoj sir.
Good evening, Dilip, and welcome. And improving quality of thoughts. And I'm going to share 3 ways to improve quality of thoughts. And some of it is the ideas that you just shared, right? So how to improve the quality of thoughts? So we just happen to see, I'll just go back to that whiteboard, and we happen to see we can improve thoughts by following the PDSA cycle: reading, journaling, meditation, awareness, mindfulness, breathing, introspection, reflection, staying curious, open-mindedness, practicing value acceptance, gratitude, empathy, creating a positive environment, not nurturing negative thoughts, clarity on our goals, engage in creative pursuit, and exercising choice. Yeah. So I'm going to just dive into 3 points and in terms of enhancing the quality of thoughts, because when you enhance the quality of your thoughts, you enhance the quality of your life. So if thoughts could, if you could break down into a few points, what it could be.
Memories of past.
Yeah,
Memories of past.
memories of past,
idea,
idea,
Images.
Your
images,
your conditioned past.
your conditioned past. Yeah,
could be even to-do list or things to do.
yeah.
So your beliefs.
Beliefs. Yeah. So
Why not?
yeah,
Why not dreams?
dreams. Yeah. Some of the points would come within the form. And so form is primarily the structural aspect of thoughts. How do you structure your thoughts? Or how do you organize your thoughts? Right? So that's a form. I'll give some more examples for that. Then there is, this is from psychology perspective, there is a stream. Stream is the flow of thoughts. What comes, what could be the next thought and what could be the following thought, right? That would be the stream of thoughts. And possession is primarily who is the owner of the thoughts, right? So of course, most of the time it's us, but sometimes we say that these are my mom's voice, or this is, so some people feel that they don't own their thoughts, it's someone else's thoughts. And especially people suffering from mental illness, this could be something that a psychiatrist would look into. Who is the owner of the thought, right? And of course, the content is where most of you gave your points, is in terms of the content. Yeah. Let me use a whiteboard to go into form. So when it comes to structure of the thought, what do you feel? What do you think is what do you mean by structure of, what is a form? Form is a structural aspect, right? It is a structural aspect of thoughts, right? How thoughts are organized. So any idea on this?
Maybe the way the images, the internal images are stored.
Yeah. Because NLP, we speak a lot on the structure, right?
I may have some patterns to create my thoughts.
Yeah, so there could be a certain pattern and there is a certain way you organize it, right? So for example, if it's a car mechanic and a car mechanic looks at the car engine is not starting, so might be his thoughts are involved, his thoughts are centered around root causes. Why is the car engine not starting, right? So his thoughts are related to that. And there could be a lot of thoughts around that, but the thoughts are centered around root causes. Now, possibly the next set of thoughts could be in terms of, once he identifies it, maybe the next set of thoughts for him is, how do I fix it, right? So in terms of options to fix the issue, right? So maybe he can replace the entire part, or maybe he can just repair that part. So how do I fix it, right? He looks at a lot of these options available. And probably he will also consult the customer, and he trying to find out which could be the best option. Can we replace this part or can we repair? If you have to repair, then I need this much time it will take, this would be the cost, etc. And probably in terms of actually his thoughts is in terms of finally zero down to one option and fix the problem, right? So it's a very professional way of thinking. It's a very professional way of someone who is into problem solving. They have a way of thinking, and they follow that kind of pattern, right? It's a way their thoughts are organized around it. But someone with an anxiety problem, someone with a lot of anxiety issues, always get into one anxiety or the other. What could be some boxes if you could organize their thoughts? What it could be?
What is the root cause of thoughts? What is the root cause of depression?
Yeah, but that won't lead to anxiety, right? As someone who is going through, keeps getting anxiety, what could be their thought form?
Confusion
What,
about
what will other people think?
Yeah, so maybe the person does something and the thought is about, the thoughts are about what others will think.
Worrying about the future.
Or thoughts of failure.
Yeah, maybe thoughts, I
Of
think
failure.
more than what others thinks. I think it's more about, so they identify something, they have to do a travel or something, or they want to find a new job or do a project, etc.
What if it does not happen? Yeah.
Thoughts
What
are
if it does
about-
not happen?
Yeah. So the thoughts are about worst case scenarios.
Fear of failure.
Right? Worst case scenarios. What could be the worst thing that could happen? Maybe an accident could happen, etc., etc., etc. And probably they would zero down to one or two worst case scenarios and think deeply about it. So if it's an accident or something, if they are traveling or something, they will think of an accident and they will probably zero down on that particular worst case scenario, and they will very deeply think about it, right? And they will think in such a way that it would actually happen, right? And probably believe that this will unfold, right? This is going to happen or something like that. I mean, irrespective of the content, whether they are traveling or whether they are going for a job interview, irrespective of the content, because when a job interview, he'll be thinking about the worst case scenario is rejection, etc., being kicked out, etc. If it's traveling, it could be accident. If it is a flight, the flight is crashing, right? Irrespective of the content, there is a structure to it, and the structure is they think of the worst case scenarios, they zero down on one or two worst case scenario, and they believe that will actually happen. They imagine in such a way that it's really going to happen, and there's a lot of sweating and anxiety and, oh my God, this will happen, etc., etc. So if their child has not come home after school, they will think of the worst case scenario, maybe kidnapping, maybe accident, and they zero down on one or two worst case scenario. Oh, my child is actually kidnapped and now he's suffering, he's been handcuffed, etc., etc. He's trafficked to some other place, etc., etc. And they actually believe in such a way. They think this is just one case, one of the situation that I'm saying that form is irrespective of the situation, because within the situation we have content. Form is how you organize and how you think, right? There was a mathematics student who wanted to apply for PhD, and he came for coaching, saying that he has got a little bit of anxiety issue in facing the PhD admission process. So I took him through a series of coaching sessions so that in the interview, he does not get anxiety. He handles it with calmness. And he was saying mathematicians have a way of thinking, right? They think in a certain way. right? So how do you think? What is the form? What is the structure? Right? That is a form of thinking, right? So people with serious issues, it is not well organized. It's very, I mean, either it is organized in a way that will lead to anxiety, depression, etc., or it is like in schizophrenia or something, it will be like everywhere, right? You can't put a form to it. It's very irregular form that you would find it. So the first one is in terms of the structure of the thought process. How do I think? There is what do you think is the content? What you think is the content? How you think, right? So going back to this form is to find the structure. How do you think? What is the process of thinking? I'll have few more slides to explain this. Stream is one thought leading to another, right? Psychologist William James, one of the founders of, one of the foremost thinkers of psychology, he used to use the word stream to describe consciousness, to describe flow of thoughts, right? Stream is something what? It flows. You don't see stream as something static. Stream is how you think. One thought after another thought after another thought. And so I'll go down with some more slides on this a little deeper. Of course, possession is who is the owner of your thought, and content is what the matter that you think, right? It's a content. Any questions so far?
So will you be explaining that possession, because owner of the thought meaning?
Yeah, so my thoughts are my thoughts, right? So it shouldn't be a problem that if I have some thoughts and I'm making some presentation, these are my thoughts. In some cases, we might say that these are my mom's voice, these are my father's voice, or this is my boss voice, right? So sometimes we feel that the sentences or the voices that is within us is not ours, right? But that's okay. But in case of serious disorders, they feel that someone else is speaking through them or something. Someone else has taken possession of them, right? Like, for example, you see in these temples and all, when they get possessed, how though they feel that they are not in control, someone else is in control, or something else is in control, someone or something else is in control, right? Possession is basically ownership. And majority of the people, I mean, I'm here, whoever is attending, you wouldn't have a problem. Most of your thoughts, you will say, these are my thoughts. Some of the thoughts you may say that, oh, this is my mom's voice, or this is so-and-so voice, etc. So who owns the thought? That's possession.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Rohan.
Yeah. So the question, sir, is it same for every human being, or will people have different concept? Everybody will have form and stream, or
Yeah.
it'll be different?
Yeah.
And second, sir, is it possible that to be in a thoughtless state? Two questions.
For a few moments, of course, maybe in a coma, there is a thoughtless state. And in meditation, sometimes you can prolong that state, right? So you can be in a state of thoughtless, but this is this is for everyone, right? If there is a thought, if I have a pen, it has a form, right? It has a form, right? And so everything has a structure. If there's a building, there's a form to it. How is the building organized, right? Some buildings are long, some buildings are like square, everything has its form. And stream is something what comes one after the other. And possession is who is the owner, and content has to be there, right? Yeah.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
This is irrespective of who it is. Just that some of us, we have organized our thoughts in a way which is creating great result. Some of us, we have organized our thoughts in a way that creates a lot of stress, anxiety, a lot of unhealthy emotions and behavior in us.
So the way we organize it depends on individual to individual.
Yeah, it changes from individual. Like every building has a form, but every building is different, right? Yeah, that way.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So a few things, I'm going to speak more in terms of some of the issues with thoughts, and then we will see in the positive side, right? Flight of ideas. Anyone who can share what do you mean by flight of ideas? What does that mean?
It's hopping.
Yeah?
It's hopping from one thought to the other.
Yeah. So a person is continuously speaking, right? Continuously speaking. But sometimes you have a hard time following that. So I'll just use a whiteboard. So sometimes you will have a hard, so the person is speaking about one topic here, he's coming up with lots of ideas. Maybe he's speaking about, say, cars, and then suddenly there's a jump to some other topic, right? And he's speaking about his boss, and you are not able to see any connection. And then suddenly he's speaking about a dentist, and you say why he's speaking about dentist and his dentist experience, etc. And then suddenly he speaks about something else. So sometimes this flight of ideas, you have a hard time putting them together and trying to make sense of it. Right? So sometimes a person is triggered, it happens. Sometimes a person suffering from some mental disorder, it happens. And so it depends on how much of things are going. I mean, the pattern, how extreme it is or how intense it is, depends on this thing. So flight of idea is a person continuously thinking. There's a lot of thoughts, but it is jumping from one place to another. Of course, we say mind is like a monkey, it jumps from one place to another. But generally, we can make some sense of it. But in some cases, we cannot make a sense of it. Right? As a listener, we get thoroughly confused. And I've had many experience in my counseling session where the client is just jumping from one place to another, but continuously speaking. Right? Non-stop they are speaking, but you have a hard time making sense of the whole thing. You could have asked some question and they are answering something, and then they jump to something else, and then they jump to something else. Yes? Some of you could have had experiences speaking to a person who is speaking that way. Right? Rate is the speed. Okay, so these all comes in terms of the forms, stream, etc. Right? Rate at the speed of your thoughts. And how do we know if a person has very fast accelerated rate? The person speaks very fast. This is different from people like a video jockey or a radio jockey, RJ speaking very fast. That's very rehearsed, skilled speech. Right? So thinking can be slow, thinking can be very retarded, especially a person going through clinical depression. The thoughts are very retarded. Right? So how fast a person is thinking. Of course, we can't open up somebody's mind and see how fast a person is thinking, but we can make out from how fast a person is speaking. Is a person speaking too slow or a person speaking too fast? And I'm not saying something is good or bad, because someone who is sitting in a seat of meditation can comes out and maybe speak very slow because the thoughts are kind of slowed down. So that is different from a person who is going through depression. A person who is going through depression, and that person is experiencing some kind of a retardation in thoughts. So far, what are the points that we have discussed? Anyone? Some of the points we have discussed.
Yeah, what do we say about a person who thinks slow and speaks also slow?
Yeah, so in some cases, it is their style, right? Their thinking is that way. In some cases, it could be a sign of depression, a sign of grief, right? They are going through grief, etc. In some cases, it could be a sign of deep meditation practices, etc., where a person speaks slow. So we also need to see overall, is it on the negative side, is it associated with negative emotions, or is it something wrong, or is it something just because of meditative practices, etc., the person is in a state of is thinking and speaking slow. But what you need to understand here is that speed is also a factor in terms of understanding thoughts. Sometimes thoughts are rushing, tuck, 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 thought, another thought, and there's a lot of thoughts that are rushing. Sometimes the thoughts are like slow, right? So when it comes to understanding thoughts, especially understanding stream, you need to understand the rate at which the thoughts are coming and going. Pressure of speech is, this is also something that I have experienced a lot when listening to a few people in counseling, that there's a pressure of speech. It's a rapid, continuous flow of speech and is often difficult to interrupt. So the person is continuously speaking with a lot of intensity, and you will find it difficult to stop that person. And there's also a possibility the person may be speaking in so many different aspects. That could also be accompanied by flight of ideas. Person could be hopping from one to the other, to the other, to the other.
Non-coherent.
Yeah, so sometimes you can't make sense of it. You find it difficult. What is the point this person is trying to make? So from that way of speech, we can identify that thinking is that person's thinking, the thought process. Yeah, so earlier I mentioned flight of ideas and mostly pressure of speech. Sometimes they come together. So the person could speak for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, non-stop, and continuously, rapidly. So that's a reflection of their thought, how they are thinking. So when it comes to continuity, what do you make of it, continuity? In terms of thoughts?
From first thought to second thought, there may be a continuity.
There is a kind of coherence from the end of one thought to the beginning of the other.
Yeah. It's like a train that is going to a station and there is a destination, right? There's a continuity. In a movie also, we expect some kind of a continuity. Story also, we read a novel, we expect some kind of a continuity, right? So there are two kinds of thoughts I'll explain. Circumstantial thought, which is something that I earlier mentioned about flight of ideas. This is just to give you some idea in terms of understanding the thought process, right? Most of us, we don't have any of this issue. So a circumstantial thought process is also known as circumstantiality. It is when you include a lot of unneeded, unimportant details when you talk or write. Right? You ask someone something and that person will speak so many things which is not needed. Right? This takes away from the main point that you're trying to get across. So all this extra detail and information make it hard for people to follow. You ask, where is this person's house? And this person will speak about, about a park, about a beach, and he'll speak about sky and the weather. And in between, of course, everything is connected to his house because his house is next to the beach and there's a park nearby and there's a sky above. But a lot of these unnecessary details is not required when the other person just wants your address. Right? The other person just wants the address and says, okay, I'm visiting you, give me your address. Right? So you just give the address. But this person gives a lot of unnecessary information, which is not required in that context. That is a circumstantial thought process. Okay, it's not a healthy thought process. Yes, Nagiret.
So this could be the hallmark of those incessant practitioners for perfection?
Possibly. The person wants to be a perfectionism, or it could be a disorder of the thought process, or it could be just the way the person organizes the thought is not something that is very objective driven. So in some cases like divergent thinking, Somehow these people become very creative. So I'm not saying that this is absolutely unhealthy, right? Divergent thinking is you think of something and it goes off to something else, and you go around, right? So sometimes you tap into some very creative ideas, but in most of the majority of the cases, like for example, in a job interview, they ask you a question and you give all unnecessary information. It is not needed, right? You answer to the point what is needed. So within the context, are you able to think in a very coherent, in a very organized way and to the point and answer, right? If you are not able to do that on a consistent basis, maybe your thought itself is that way. That pattern of thinking itself is that way, right? You go around and around and around. So you might be using the word overthinking, but sometimes the overthinking is in terms of circumstantial thought process. Tangential thought process is a little more on the extreme side, where you ask someone, what is your address? That person will say a lot, but will not give you even that answer. At least in circumstantial, the person is giving you the answer. This is where I stay, right? But just that the person is giving a lot of unnecessary information, right? But in tangential, the person has gone off the tangent and the person has forgotten what you have asked, right? The person has completely forgotten what you have asked and gives you a lot of information about, say, park and buffaloes and cows and etc. And the person is totally gone off tangent, right? They don't ever reach their main point or give direct answer to a question, right? So what is the difference between circumstantiality and tangential thought process? Without reading the slide, can you tell?
Yeah, both have extra information, but in circumstantial you get the answer, whereas in tangential you never get the answer.
Yeah. They completely miss the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like getting into a wrong train altogether. And so I'll just read out this slide. With circumstantiality, your speech rambles and goes off topic too, but there are often connections between everything you bring up, right? And while it can be hard for someone to follow your train of thought, you eventually answer their question or provide a main point, right? But just that you're going around and around and giving too much information, that is circumstantiality, right? An example. If you ask a stranger if you can pet their dog, like touch their dog and pet their dog, you will expect to answer yes or no. But someone with a tangential thought process may say many different things about whatever. As an answer, they will say many things, but they will not answer the question. Your question will go unanswered, right? And it's not an intentional. If it is intentional, it's a different story. It is not intentional. That person's thought process is like that. They will start with one idea and they will just go off the tangent. They'll go off somewhere else, right? That is their way of thinking, right? So to organize your thoughts with an objective, with a main point, right? And give a coherent answer that others can understand, and going off everywhere and then giving so lots of information, and then finally, that is circumstantial. But finally, they will tell the main point. But in tangential, they are completely gone off. Sometimes they might become aware and they will say, hey, what did you ask? I forgot what you asked. Right? So sometimes they may get that awareness, but sometimes they may not even get that awareness that they have gone off topic. Yes, Nagired.
So maybe I'm going tangential. This subject is primarily on psychology. I'm just seeing how effective this will be in the judiciary. I think all judges and lawyers must be well versed with this kind of analysis.
Yeah.
Am I right, sir?
Yeah. In most of the cases, they may intentionally try to deviate into other topics, but that is not a disorder, right? That is not considered as something a person is suffering from. But there are people who genuinely miss off, right? Of course, people with dementia, etc., they may forget, and that's a different story. But just normal people also sometimes we go just off tangent, completely off tangent, right? So that is tangential thought process. If you have tangential thought process, you are thinking of something, but then you are thinking of something else, right? This could be when you are alone also, right? Your ability, see, the guy who I coached for mathematical for PhD mathematics. He was saying there's a mathematical way of thinking, and that is to stay on the objective. Right? Your thoughts has to stay on the objective. But if your thoughts are jumping off everywhere, then achieving some results is pretty difficult, especially if it is tangential. In tangential, you are completely gone off and you're thinking about something else altogether. So you start here and then you jump off somewhere else. And then from there, you jump off somewhere else. And it's very hard. It's not a very healthy way of thinking. So if you ask in circumstantial, if you ask, can I pet your dog, to someone with circumstantial thought process, they could also bring up many different topics, but what they say may feel more connected to your question. For instance, the person may explain the kind of dog they have, recount a story about how they never liked dogs as a kid, now they do, tell you which type of dog food they buy and why, and so on, before saying whether you can pet the dog or not. So they will come to the point, just that they speak a lot and they give a lot of information. Sometimes you feel that much information is not needed, right? Based on the context.
They may even talk about the advantages of petting a dog,
Yeah, which is much more connected. But if they are going
Yeah,
to
much more connected.
memory,
And then say, I'm very happy you asked me whether you can pet. Actually, if you pet a dog, this will happen, that will happen. And after 30 minutes of story, the advantages, then now you can pet.
yes, yeah. So if it is for 30 minutes, you are standing in the park
Listening.
and wondering how to escape,
They explain the advantages of petting.
Yeah, so that reflects their thought process, right?
So sorry to be more specific. So no one of them are more specific or precise. In one, it's closer to the answer. In the other one, they lose the essence.
Yeah.
That is what you're trying to say?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So all this is connected to the first slide. I will go back to the slide, which is form and stream and content, right? The way we organize our thoughts. So how do we organize our thoughts? And over a period of time, it becomes some kind of a pattern for us, right? So Luce associates several derailment in which flow of ideas is no longer comprehensible to the listener, since the individual thought seems to have no logical relation to one another, right? So sometimes we may jump so fast and without any clear connection that the listener finds it very hard. So the connections are very loose from one topic to the other topic. Word salad, especially Donald Trump when he was running for presidency, a lot of people were saying word salad. These are like you string together sometimes words which you can't make sense of it, right? There's no logical connection. The sentence has no meaning as such. So you bring together certain words and it reflects the thought process behind it, right? Finally, thought content. Yeah, this is in terms of what do you think, right? It's the content of your thought. And even there, you can have some kind of a theme. What do I think all day? So if you're not driving, can you take a piece of paper and answer this question? What do I think of? So this question, what do I think all day? What do I think all day? Any themes? Do I think about job all the time, or do I think about my neighbors all the time? Do I think about my enemy all the time?
So sorry to interrupt, but it's like more specific depending on what currently is going in your life. So you basically focus more on that rather than going AY.
Yeah. So based on the current circumstances, you may have certain thoughts, and overall, a person has certain themes around it as a personality, right? For
See,
example,
basically,
yeah,
what I want to do next, I will keep on thinking generally,
yeah,
what to do next, what to do next, what to do next.
yeah. So basically, task-based. So thoughts are around tasks.
The next task. Yeah, yeah.
Tasks that you need to you need to do. You need to do. And for some people, they are daydreamers. They are in the fantasy world altogether. So they spend predominantly in some fantasy world, right? They are basically daydreamers, and they spend a lot of time thinking about some prince or some princess or some story, in that story they may be the hero or the heroine, right? Or they may be a side character, but it's all fantasy. For some people, they think about future a lot. Some people think past a lot. So how do you think generally as a personality? What do you think of all day?
So it's more about future, I guess. Though it's said correctly that we should stay in present and not try to predict what's going to happen in the future, not live in the future. But we as human beings are helpless, and we tend to actually try to foresee things and make our own judgments.
Yeah. So at a macro level, you can think of certain themes, and these themes can form also, you can convert it into some kind of a form or some kind of the way you organize, the way you unconsciously organize. So when I say you organize your thoughts, it's not like we consciously do that. It's the unconscious way that we organize, from the way you organize your thoughts, right? Of course, in NLP, the thoughts includes the pictures that we make up, right? Even that we look at the structure. What is the color of those pictures? Are they mostly black and white pictures? Are they like big pictures? Does it, so we go into details of the images that we make up along with the language-based thoughts, right? So at a macro level, you can look at a micro level also, you can look at, right? What am I thinking right now? What am I thinking right now? Or you can think of what do I think before I start a task, right? Or what do I think when I wake up in the morning? Generally, what do I think when I wake up in the morning? Or generally, what do I think when I go to sleep?
Mostly it will be what I want to become, my goals or my outcomes. Mostly it will be like that. Right?
Yeah. So some of us, we think about our goals. Some of them think about what went wrong, right? So we have some kind of a pattern, some kind of a theme around it, right? So one of the things that I keep emphasizing in various classes is in terms of identifying your triggering thoughts, right? So sometimes we are triggered. And when we are triggered, we are emotionally in a different state altogether. Either we are very angry, we are upset, we are hurt, right? So sometimes the trigger comes from external outside of us, right? It comes from so-and-so person's behavior, etc., etc. But a lot of our triggers are our own thoughts, right? So if you're feeling a sense of or a very strong sense of anger, what is the triggering thoughts for anger? What could be the triggering thoughts?
It could be our own failures or shortcomings,
Yeah,
but we try to impose it on others. Actually, we try to blame others. It's a blame game, though it's internalized, but we try to blame it on others, that because of that or his or her person or some other person, this happened.
Yeah. So it could be a set of thoughts which is blaming thoughts. Anyone else?
External output.
External
output.
Yeah. So in terms of triggering thoughts, there are
triggering thoughts. For me, it is the communication. When somebody doesn't listen to me, they take me for granted. That becomes the triggering point for me.
Yeah. So if you isolate that person's behavior, others' behavior, right? Others' behavior, that person is taking me for granted, but for the same behavior, somebody else may not get angry. So there is a assessment or there is a judgment.
Something wrong with others.
Somebody,
that triggers me.
Somebody or someone is wrong, right? So you have to make an assessment that somebody has done something wrong, and that is one of the way that we experience anger. right? This person is not behaved properly. This person is not following rules. This person is unfair, right? So this person is unfair. This person is not following rules. This person is trying to take advantage of me. So some kind of an assessment or a judgment has to happen in order for us to feel angry, right? So not only the other person's behavior, but it also that we assess the other person as wrong. There is right and there is wrong. So we experience a lot of anger, right? For example, in 20 years back, a woman who is a divorcee, sometimes society will have anger towards her that she's a bad woman. That's why she went through divorce, right? Some 20, 30 years back. The society used to judge her that because she is bad only. So the blame was often put on woman. And so there is a blaming thought, there's a judgment, and the society could express its anger towards that. But today, the same woman, I mean, a woman who goes through divorce, the society may not judge the way it used to judge. So so judgment, is it correct or wrong? It depends. But there has to be a judgment, right? This person is done something wrong for us to feel anger, right? And guilt, what could be a triggering thought?
Knowingly do something wrong to other person.
Yeah, so it's more of a kind of a self-judgment or assessing yourself, judging yourself that you have done something wrong, right? And you're not happy with your behavior and you feel a sense of guilt, right? So you need to understand, apart from the external factors, you also need to understand your thought process. How I think before I get angry, how I think before I get guilty, how I think before I procrastinate, how I think before I kind of go into that lethargy mode, right? So it is very important to identify your thoughts that trigger a certain way of behavior, a certain emotions. Not only the external factor, not only the other person's behavior, you also think how I think. How am I processing this inside my head, right? So you can identify some of the triggering thoughts, because if you think differently, you may not experience the same emotion. You may have a totally different behavior.
But it all depends upon the kind of person you are, whether you're more optimistic or pessimistic. So that also can affect the triggering points.
Yeah. So for example, a pessimistic will be triggered quite often, right? A optimistic might be triggered very rarely because he somehow feels that things will get all right. So, but if you are triggered, it's very important to become aware of your own thought process. What is the role of my thoughts in this trigger episode? Right?
But sir,
How are you processing the thoughts?
But sir, let's assume that you are doing the constant thought. Like the moment you get up in the morning, you'll do your meditation, all the things. Suddenly something has happened, and you start thinking angry, and your thought is totally changed, totally 360 direction. But that time you don't have that conscious to whether my thought is going to that direction or not. So that awareness is not there. That's the biggest challenge.
So initially you can start with postmortem, right? So postmortem is after the whole incident has passed, right? So postmortem introspection. Okay, introspection. So here everything is in past tense. So just before I got triggered, what was my thought process? How was I thinking? Right? So this is a post-mortem introspection. Sometimes you will be able to remember it. Sometimes initially you may find it hard to remember those thoughts, right? But over a period of time, you will be able to remember it and say, I was thinking like this just before I got triggered. I was thinking like this, right? And then you can reach a stage where you are present moment, Present moment awareness. So in present moment awareness, you can say that this is my behavior and these are my thoughts. So from here, you can move to here over a period of time. So this is also very useful, right? But this is even more useful. Even addiction, anything. So what is, just before you had that, whatever it is, if it's a sweet addiction or if it's alcohol addiction, right? Just before you picked up the drink, what was your thought process? Okay, what is the role my thoughts are playing in terms of my addiction? Right? Addiction has many factors, but what is the role of my thoughts? How do I think before I get triggered or before I get triggered to this behavior? Whether it's an addiction or whether it is anger, whether it is anxiety. People who have anxiety, they have a certain way of thinking. They often get anxious and they have a certain way of thinking. And that thinking leads them to anxiety because anxiety is about future. So nothing has happened now. So there is no real life situation that is. So a person who is scared that the plane will crash, nothing has happened right now. You are yet to get into the plane itself. There's no evidence or there's nothing that would lead to a plane crash, but you still start processing that. That's a way of thinking. So you need to acknowledge that I have this way of thinking and this thinking is leading to anxiety. Okay, so to identify the triggering thoughts, and there are 3 ways that I'm going to emphasize to enhance the quality of your thoughts. And the first is to develop a curiosity to know how you think and what you think all day. You don't have to be continuously monitoring your thoughts, but once in a while, just be curious. Just be curious to know what is the form, how do I think, right? I spoke about stream, right? So can anyone share? I'll just say ice cream, right? I'll just use the word ice cream. What would be the next thought that might come from ice cream?
Flavor.
Yeah?
Flavor.
The cold.
Flavor.
Sir, hungry.
Hungry.
Throat infection.
Okay, so I'll put this 2 different stream. One is ice cream, and the next chain of thought is throat infection. This is one person's thought, throat infection. Another person's thought is flavor, and the other person starts feeling hungry. After hunger,
It's very cold, so whether to eat it or it's an emotion actually, kind of.
So after hunger, I want it right now.
Yeah, I want it. I feel the crunchy.
After hunger, I want it right now. Right? I want it right now. And your thought is in terms of I want it right now. And your next thought is where can I get it? And you think of a specific ice cream or ice cream shop, right? And then you plan and say that from this ice cream shop, I'm going for a walk after the class. So the shop will still be open. So I can have it at this time. Right? All the planning happens, and then they go for a walk and they have the ice cream. And then they come and tell me, Manoj, I get a lot of idea, but I don't have execution problem is there. I'm not able to implement. But I say, see, you got an idea, ice cream, and see how you are implementing it. Right? Ice cream was just
maybe later the thought stream can go into guilt also. Or I should have not.
Yeah, after that there could be a guilt. But and let's say throat infection, what could be the next thought?
Need to go to doctor or need to take medicine.
Yeah. So you imagine going to doctor, and imagine work getting affected.
You remember the last
Yes.
instance you got throat infection and you had to suffer so much.
Yeah, work gets derailed, right? And then the decision is, I don't want ice cream.
Don't want to have ice cream.
I don't want to have ice cream, especially if you're a trainer, throat and all can create serious problem. I don't want to have ice cream. So look at two different thought flow, right? From one thing it leads to, so here it went to ice cream, to flavor, to hungry, to I want it right now, etc., etc., etc. And the other one is it went to throat infection, going to doctor, getting there, and I don't want ice cream. Right? So this is about understanding how one thought leads to another thought. So how is it for you? How does the thought unfold in you? Various things, right? So what is the sequence of events that unfolds in you as you think about something, right? So first is to curiosity about how do I organize my thoughts? What is the theme of my thoughts? How do I think? What do I think? Right? This is a curiosity. This is the first process. This is the first suggestion, that if you can develop this curiosity, and if you become more aware of your thought process, not just the content of your thought, but the form of your thought, the stream of your thoughts, right? Whose thought it is it my thought, or is it someone's thought sitting in my head, right? Who is the owner of this thought, the content, the triggering thoughts? If you become more aware of it, just becoming more aware can enhance the quality of your thoughts. And for that, you just need a curiosity. You don't have to judge your thoughts as positive or negative. You just want to understand the way your thoughts gets organized, and the content and the flow of thoughts. Okay, this is the first practice, is to develop. And initially you can start with post-mortem analysis, but later you become more and more aware of your thoughts, how you are thinking as the day progresses.
Sir, do you think like that sir, do you think like that if we have the number of choice, that's the reason we have too much thought right now? For example, take example 20 years before, if I want to purchase a mobile, so there is only one mobile available in the market, Nokia. There is no other thought. I need to go to market, purchase a mobile. Now take condition now, if I want to purchase mobile, there are 100 options open. So many thoughts, so many things. Do I need to do all these things? So is it like that if the number of choice are there, so your thoughts will be more unnecessary, vulnerable? Or if you have the only single choice, so thought will be very strict. Is it okay?
Yeah, I mean, if you have choices, it could take time. And nowadays, there are so many choices of anything, right? Of course, in some cases, choices are limited, like some cases, job opportunities are limited. But where choices are there, but how is your thought? Some people get excited about choices. They have a way of organizing their thought process and taking a decision. Right? Even in olden days, when we were in the jungle, there could be 40 deers. Whom to hunt? Right? As a hunter-gatherer, there are so many trees which fruit to pluck. Right? So sometimes we are blessed with abundance and there's a lot of choices. But some of us, we handle it in a very exciting way. Some of us, we get overwhelmed. And how do you get overwhelmed? What is the process of getting overwhelmed? So you can just be curious about it. How do I handle choices? Right? In a resourceful way or in a very unresourceful way. To feel helpless when there is a lot of choices, right? Oh God, what to do, and feel a sense of stuckness. I can't decide because there is so many choices. That's not a healthy way to look at choices. Choices means abundance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the first point. Can I move on to the second one?
Yes.
Yeah. So second one, there's a lot of thinking in terms of think positive, think positive, think positive. Right? Even sometimes I also end up, it is easier to use positive and negative to explain something. But here I'm suggesting, don't think positive. What is the alternative?
Think appropriate.
Think appropriate.
Think practical.
Think practical.
Consider negative points as well.
Consider negative points as well.
think utility or productivity aspect.
Yes, you hit the right button. Yeah, so this is those of you who have done the ACT program from me, you would know this. So we don't want to think positive because sometimes it's very challenging for human beings to think positive all the time. Why is it challenging? Because historically, our brain is been designed in such a way that it is meant to be our protector. It's like a bodyguard, right? It's like a bodyguard. You can see some 4 bodyguards. So bodyguards, what they will be all the time looking for? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Yeah. So if a child is coming with a nice smile, etc., and there is a guy with a knife, whom they will focus on?
Guy with knife.
A guy with knife, right? So bodyguards, they don't care about the positive things because their job is to protect you from danger. And a bodyguard always looks for danger, right? So if you're in the jungle and if there is a nice, beautiful waterfall and there is a snake very close to you, what will help you in surviving? To keep looking at the waterfall or to notice the snake?
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah, I expect the unexpected as well as you can be one step ahead also. So there's a lot of danger, especially our forefathers, they lived in a time and place where there was a lot of danger, right? We stay in an apartment and the animals don't come inside, like foxes, lions don't come inside, right? There's always this danger around our forefathers. So the brain has been developed to keep looking for danger, right? Why it is looking for danger is you can take action and you can survive. So it is just your bodyguard. So I'll read this slide, or Usha, can you help me read this slide?
Yes, sir. The number one job of our mind is to protect us, keep us safe, stop us from getting hurt, etc.
Yeah. And this is just not physical safety. Sometimes we also relationship safety, emotional safety, financial security, right? So the mind always looks for, is there any danger around me? Right? Is there any danger around me? In some cases, like if you're in a war zone or something like Ukraine and Russia there's a war going on, and if you are in somewhere close by the war, then physically you have to keep looking around if there is a danger, right? So the brain is designed that way by evolution to look for danger and to protect us, right? So a lot of the danger that we have is not real. Sometimes the mind imagines that there could be a danger, but your rational mind can make up saying that there is no danger, right? Don't get hooked to your mind. Don't get hooked to your mind. You can see this 2 picture. One fish is hooked and the other fish is not hooked. It is just looking at whatever that food that is being given as a bait. Can anyone explain this slide?
The other one, which is not hooked, is having freedom to move around. But the next one, who already got hooked, it doesn't have any freedom to move out.
Yeah, beautiful. The one that is hooked is controlled by that thread, right? One that is not hooked can look at the bait, but is not hooked, so it can go anywhere. It has the power to choose, right?
Don't limit yourself.
Yeah. So if you are possessed by your thoughts, I mean, if you're hooked by your thoughts, then once you take the bait, you cannot control yourself, right? And your behavior changes, and as if you are not in control, and you go in a certain direction. Some of us, we scream, some of us, we sleep off. We don't do what we intend to do, right? We feel that we cannot control ourselves. And that happens once we are hooked to certain thoughts. Now, we have this illusion that we can control our thoughts, but we cannot, right? There are 67,000 thoughts in a human mind every day, and we cannot control every single thought. It is just not possible. Maybe we can control for 5 minutes or something, but we can't be controlling our thoughts throughout the day. And what about dreams? Can we control that? right? Dreams are beyond us to control, right? So instead of trying to control, check out if whenever negative thought comes, if it has merit, and if it has merit, it is better to follow up with action. If there is a real danger, you follow it with action. Use your rational mind. If there is a real snake next to you, you better take action. It's a negative thought. It's a thoughts of fear, but better you listen to that. It is good for you if you listen to that. Right? But a lot of thoughts that we get nowadays, majority of the thoughts are just imagination. It has no basis on evidence. It has no basis on any facts. It is just in our mind. Right? Those thoughts does not require any action. So one of the way to check whether it is you need to do something is, if a negative thoughts comes, do I need to take any action? Right? Personally, do I need to take any action? Do I need to take any initiative? If yes, then do that and safeguard yourself. Right? If no, then it's better to move your thoughts in another direction. Yeah, so on the left side, is the person hooked to the thoughts, or on the right side, the person is hooked to the thoughts in this picture?
Left side.
So the left side, the person is completely immersed in thoughts. Whereas on the right side, the person can, oh, these are my thoughts. Okay, this is another thought. My mind is giving me this thought. Okay. Right? You look at your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. Yeah. I can look at my hand. Like that, I can look at my thoughts. Okay, so you can look at your thoughts. You're not hooked to the thought. So here, in the fish example, in the first example, you're looking at your thought. In the second example, you're hooked to your thought. Okay, this is a metaphor that I thought can explain nicely how we should look at our mind. You are the king, and your mind is your minister. And the minister's job is to give you a lot of ideas. It's an idea generating machine. King, hey Prabhu, this is, we can do this, hey Prabhu. And the king encourages ideas from all ministers. Hey minister, you tell me. Hey minister, you tell me. Hey, why are you quiet? You give me ideas. And all the minister, hey Prabhu, this idea, hey Prabhu, that idea. And they give a lot of ideas. And do the king has to take all the ideas from all the ministers?
No.
Do the king has to become a slave to those ministers?
No.
No, isn't it? So you are you, and your mind is a minister. It's one of the minister. Your heart is another minister. Your hands is, does your hands listen to you? Does the hand, or should you listen to your hand, or the hand should listen to you? Yeah, your hands should listen to you, right?
And should listen
So
to.
you're not audible actually.
Others can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
We can hear you, Manoj.
Yeah. So idea is that you look at mind. This is a beautiful metaphor. You look at mind as an idea generating machine. It just generates a lot of ideas. Right? Indian Oil Company asked its employees to give a lot of ideas to improve the company, and thousands of employees gave hundreds and thousands of ideas. Does Indian Oil management has to implement every idea? No. Some of the ideas are crappy ideas. So management doesn't have to implement every idea. Management takes the best ideas and implement it. Right? So the mind will give hundreds and hundreds of ideas. It will also tell you, kill that person. Does it mean that you actually go and kill that person? Sometimes in anger, such thought comes. Right? So one of the suggestion by your mind is you have a fight with your neighbor, and the mind says, kill that neighbor, kick that neighbor. Doesn't mean that you physically go and kick that neighbor. You don't implement all the ideas. Right? So treat your mind as an idea generating machine. It gives you a lot of idea. When you are in problem, it wants to solve, it wants to help you. So it gives lots of ideas. Some of them are crappy, some of them are very negative ideas, right? Like killing the person, etc. Kill your boss, right? In anger, such thoughts will come. Doesn't mean that you implement it, right? So don't let your minister run your life. You run the life. So you take those ideas and you don't have to criticize any idea. So what do you do? Does the king go on criticizing the minister? Then the minister will stop giving ideas. So what the king should do?
Say thanks.
Listen to all.
Keep patting the minister
Yeah, and then?
And do what he thinks the best.
Yeah, and he can take the best ideas. Right? If an idea is really good, he can take that ideas and implement that idea. So the king is I, me, myself, and the minister is my mind. Right? You are grateful to the minister because it's an idea generating machine, and you appreciate it based on the number of volume of ideas that you give. Right? If you have a problem, it gives you 10 ideas. You say, excellent, you gave me 10 ideas.
Maybe you should search for the Birbal in the idea.
Yeah?
The Birbal idea. Search for the Birbal in the idea.
Yeah. So it's like a brainstorming exercise. You don't criticize the team members for giving ideas, right? You just choose the best ideas and improve. So all the ideas you can just rate. If the mind gives an idea, you can rate on a scale of usefulness. How useful it is for me from a utility point of view, right? Either you can rate on a scale of, in reality, you don't have to write in a piece of paper. You can just ask, is this a great idea? Is it a useful idea? Focus on best ideas the mind is giving you. Just disregard the crappy ideas the mind is giving you. Don't even criticize it, because even by criticizing it, you energize it. Just focus on today, what are the best ideas that came to my mind? Right? What are the most useful ideas that came in my mind? What are the best thoughts that came in my mind? What is the nurturing thoughts that came in my mind? So don't even criticize, don't go into criticism, because anything that you want to get rid of, you energize it. I want to get rid of these negative thoughts, you energize those negative thoughts, because when you fight, you strengthen the other opposite party. Right? Focus on your nurturing thoughts, focus on the most useful thoughts. Right? So here, take the most highly rated useful thoughts and act on it. Take the best ideas the mind is giving and act on it and say, wow, this is a great idea. Thank you. And it's like you can even appreciate your mind for that. Right? This is an excellent idea. I really appreciate it. So the mind will be more encouraged to give you more useful ideas. Right? So one of the super insight is we have so much control over our action than our feelings and thoughts. Right? So instead of trying to control our feelings and thoughts, you take the best ideas and start acting on it. Because a lot of people say, I want to feel good, and if I feel good, I'll do good. No. You do good and then you'll feel good. Focus on action, focus on, and action is with the hands, with the legs, right? You act. Act on the best ideas that you have. No, I'm not feeling good. How do I? No, go ahead. Go ahead and take the next step. Take the next step. Right? If a tiger gets into your house and you have a back door, you will run, right? You are not feeling good, but you are able to run. Right? Action is possible even when you are not feeling good. And if you take the right actions, you will get the right feelings. So while implementing the useful ideas, don't let the mood and unuseful thoughts drag you off the track. Do what matters irrespective of negative moods and thoughts. So instead of thinking I should think positive, I should think positive, you say I should do positive. I should do positive. I should act. My action should be positive. Because 60, 70,000 thoughts you cannot control, but you can control your action. Right? Feeling sometimes comes and goes. Sometimes you are in a bad mood and you don't even know why you are in a bad mood. Right? So to be happy all the time may be too much of a challenge. But yes, you can be a happy personality where most of the time you're happy. Right? But focus on doing things right. Take the best ideas and implement them. Yes, now you're right.
So there goes to saying, if you're not feeling enthusiastic, pretend enthusiastic, and enthusiasm will come back to you the snap of the finger.
So another form of pretending enthusiasm is to actually do, like start jumping and smiling and start dancing, etc. And suddenly you'll feel. So that's an action, right? So you start doing things that really matters to you, and the rest of it will follow automatically, right? So an action and behavior is driven by most useful thoughts. So there are so many thoughts, you pick up the best thoughts. Let the mind generate thoughts, doesn't matter. Whatever, you give freedom for it to express their thoughts. But you pick up the most useful thoughts. And over a period of time, the mind will start giving you the kind of thoughts that you want. And the quality of your thoughts will go up. Right? Usha, can you also read this slide?
Yes, sir. Useful thoughts are those that can be implemented and enrich life. Pick out the most useful thoughts from all the thoughts the mind generates and ignore the rest.
I want you to absorb this. Just go after the best ideas your mind is giving you. The most nurturing thoughts, you give more attention to that, and it will become even more nurturing thoughts. Give your energy to most nurturing thoughts, most useful thoughts. Yeah, to thoughts that will help you move forward in your vision. Give more attention to that. Other thoughts, let it come and go. It will not stay. Right? It will just go off. But good ideas, you pick up and allow them to stay in your mind. Hold it long enough. Right? Improving the quality of thoughts. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive, you will have a positive result. No, we are not into that. We say choose diamonds, useful thoughts, ignore the rocks, not useful thoughts, and do what matters. It's like when you go to jungle to collect diamonds in Africa, they used to do that. They are not having any negative feelings towards the rocks, right? But they just don't want to collect rocks, the ordinary rocks. They're looking for diamonds. And when they get a diamond, they collect it. Right? Even if it's a few diamonds, once they come out of the jungle, they feel, wow, these are very useful. I'll become rich because I have these diamonds. So similarly, you're going into the jungle of the mind and there are lots of rocks. You just ignore the rocks. Don't have any negative feelings. They are just ordinary rocks, right? But look for diamonds and you will find diamonds, and you pick those diamonds and come back and hold on to those diamonds. Yeah, so that's the second practice. First practice is to be curious about your thought process, how you think, what you think. Second is pick useful thoughts based on your vision, purpose, and goals. Right? And keep getting excited. Wow, my mind gave such a good idea. Wow, I'm going to implement this. Wow, this is another good idea. I'm going to do this. Right? Any nurturing thoughts, any useful thoughts, you get excited about it and you go and act on it. Okay, that's the last one. Before I go into the last one, any questions? So what are the two practices?
Be that curious self, and then
pick only positive thoughts.
Yeah, be better to use useful thoughts.
Useful thoughts.
Useful thoughts, right? One is just be curious about how you organize, how the thoughts organize, because it's automatic process. how do they get organized in your mind, how the sequence of thoughts that unfold in you, right? The form, the stream of thoughts that just be curious. What kind of thoughts are coming in your mind? What is the theme? What is the pattern? Right? What triggers you to some unhealthy behavior? Just be curious, becoming aware of your thoughts, both at macro, micro level, right?
So I'm capturing some of my thoughts. I'm giving it a different name. What you're doing right now is thought management by design.
Yeah. So based on how you have thought in the past, there is a structure that got developed. But if you think differently, a new structure will get developed, right? And you can change the way you think over a period of time. Yeah. The last one is to have some gratitude. Your mind is doing a lot of work. It is generating 60, 70,000 thoughts. So is it a hardworking machine or is it a lazy machine?
Hardworking.
Very, very hard.
Very hardworking.
So we appreciate heart for its consistency, right? We appreciate our ears because it does such a good teamwork. We don't even know which ear picked up. Both the ears, they are a hallmark in terms of teamwork. No, we appreciate our stomach for digesting all that unnecessary things we eat, right? But the brain is working so much, it is generating 60, 70,000 thoughts in a day, right? It takes a lot of effort. And so you better say thank you, right? One is to the mind, one is to life itself. Because an attitude of gratitude will cleanse your thoughts, will cleanse your whole system. That is one powerful way you can organize. Even simple things like, for example, someone irons your dress and gives you that dhobi who irons the dress. You think the money will, if you give money, that will complete the transaction. No, money alone will not complete the transaction. You also have to say thank you. And the thank you has to come from a sense of gratitude. It's not an artificial thank you. Right? So a lot of people are helping you. Otherwise, if you're all alone, life will be very difficult. So there are hundreds of people around you that is helping you. And some of them are helping you from a distance itself. I'm wearing a shirt. I don't even know who made this shirt. Right? Can I make a shirt? No, I cannot. Someone has made this spectacle. I'm using it. Right? So some of the people, we don't even know who has made certain products. A farmer is working day in, day out, and because of that, we are having a food. Right? So gratitude is for everything you can think of. So you can make a long list of everything that you're thankful for. It's a very powerful exercise. The thing is, you make it really long. Right? If you think of, you can think of hundreds of things that you're grateful for. There are so many people who have helped you. There are so many people who have supported you, and you say thank you from your heart. Gratitude is nothing but genuinely saying thank you. Right? So 3 practices for improving quality of thoughts. Be curious about how you think and what you think. Right? This will create a lot of self-awareness. Self-awareness has nothing to do with judging your thought as positive and negative. It's just that, okay, this is how I think. These are my thought patterns right now. This is how I organize my thoughts. These are my triggering thoughts. This is what I generally think in the morning. This is what I generally think in the night. I remember counseling a person who had sleep difficulty, and his thoughts are very anxious thoughts, and he thoughts of everything that went wrong that day. And he goes through a lot of stress in the night, right? He just worries and there's a lot of stress. And that's his regular pattern in the night. He has to think something that went wrong. And over a period of time, it becomes a habit to worry and habit to experience stress. And with that, he tries to sleep. Right? So identify your thought patterns. This is one. Second is always look for the best thoughts within you. Look for those diamonds. those wonderful ideas that comes to you, the wonderful solution that comes to you. Some of the solutions are crappy and harmful also. Ignore that. Just look at the best solutions and act on it. And sprinkle your thoughts with thoughts of gratitude. These three things, if you practice, I assure you, your quality of your thoughts will definitely improve. As you become more and more aware, your quality of thoughts will improve. As you give more weightage to useful thoughts, your mind will generate more useful thoughts. And gratitude will cleanse you of any toxic element in your mind and body. It's a best cleansing process. So together as a combination, if you can practice these three practices, definitely your thought quality will go up.